Hello, thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins. My name is Laura. And the other day, Ollie at Criminale did a video where it was reread, rewrite, or burn. And he did it Stephen King, so he randomly chose a Stephen King book and said if he would reread it, rewrite it, or burn it. And I thought that was a really fun idea, so I'm switching it up a bit. And I have chosen different adaptations, and I'm going to do is it worth rewatching, readapting, or burning it? So the readapting one is where it wasn't a terrible adaptation, but it definitely needed some things changed. Whereas burning it is where it's man, that movie was terrible, and they need to do that from scratch all over again. Whereas obviously the rewatch is one where it's wow, that was a great adaptation. So I've done over 100 book versus movie episodes, so I do not have all 100 of them listed. So just using the assortment that I entered in here, let's get this started. Okay, so the first one. Bullet Train. So if you are familiar with my channel, you know that I love Bullet Train the book. So good. It is one of those that I wouldn't recommend to just anybody, I guess, because it is like a dark action comedy. So think Guy Ritchie, Quentin Tarantino, Smokin' Aces, those kind of things. And that's not everybody's taste. But if it is your taste, then you should definitely read this book. And it also just has so much heart to it as well. And the characters are all just so distinct and so interesting. And I just absolutely loved it. So many twists and turns, and I kept wanting to know what was happening, and the ending is perfect. I absolutely love the ending of this book. But anyway, the movie was a good time, and I enjoyed it. I feel like this is a readapt one because it wasn't terrible, but there were certain changes made I didn't love, which I can't get into it because it's spoilers, but there's a certain character they just totally omitted from the movie, and that character was fantastic, so why did they have to get rid of them? So different changes they made with characters and how different characters are related to certain others in the movie I didn't love. And then it also, I don't know, Brad Pitt, he was funny, but I feel like the casting could be redone as well. I'm not going to say burn it because I did have a good time with it and I would recommend watching it. It is on Netflix and yeah, it's fun, but there are some changes that I would make if I were to readapt this one. So readapting for Bullet Train. Next up. So the 2017 version of The Beguiled, I think it was from 2017. So this one is the Sofia Coppola version. And this one, again, I would readapt because I think, I love Sofia Coppola's style and her vibe and the costumes. I thought it was incredible. It was very visually pleasing. And I love the cast. We have Colin Farrell, who was wonderful, and Nicole Kidman and Elle Fanning, and trying to remember the others. But I would readapt it. First of all, I would include their cook, who was in the book, as well as the 70s movie, but she wasn't in this one. So I would keep her. And then also one of the characters has this side story about how she is mixed race. And it's not done the best in the book, admittedly, but in the movie they could have included that, but actually done it well, And then also there were certain times where it felt like they held back when it's you should just go for it, especially since, they could have. This is 2017, you can push things a bit more than they could have back in the day. Even the 70s movie pushed things more than the 2017 one did. So I felt in some ways it was why are you remaking this? Because this has been adapted before. So the first adaptation was really good. So if you're going to readapt this book, you must have something else you want to add, but they didn't. And instead they almost took away. Yeah, I love the costumes. I love the casting, but I would have just added more drama, more tenseness, more of the backstory that we had in the book, and stayed truer to the characters. And yeah, I would have just added more of that underlying drama. And yeah, there's one scene in particular which they just pun intended, but they just cut the scene short. And I'm why didn't you do more with that scene, right? You could have, but they just cut it short and abruptly go to the next scene. And yeah, anyway, so this wasn't as tense and on edge and as disturbing as it could have been. So readapt for this one, because there were some things I did like though. And the next one is... Oh, barely. The Snowman. The Snowman, just burn it. This adaptation. Well, actually, I love Michael Fassbender and I really like Rebecca Ferguson. So keep them, but just burn the rest because this movie is such a mess and it doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of script that wasn't filmed. And Val Kilmer, I don't want to sound harsh, but he shouldn't have been cast in this movie because he was recovering from a surgery and he couldn't even speak his lines and he just didn't look like he was doing well. So they should have cast someone else. I love Val Kilmer, but he shouldn't have been cast in this movie. And then so many plot lines are not wrapped up in the end. And I will admit, I didn't love the book either. I definitely had some issues with that. But still, you could have taken that story in the book and turned it into a better movie that could have been better than the book. But instead, they made it even worse than the book, and it just made no sense. And even the performances, I usually love Michael Fassbender. And again, I really like Rebecca Ferguson, but I felt like even they didn't give the best performances out there, and it was just a very poorly done movie. And yeah, there were like 15 pages of script that didn't even get filmed for some reason. I think I have a video for it, but maybe there were budgeting issues. I'm not quite sure. But basically, burn this one. I'm sorry. This needs to be readapted entirely, or just forget it and not readapt it at all, because like I said, I didn't even like the book that much. So the next one is Goodfellas. So rewatch. This one is so good. I love Goodfellas and I love Wise Guy, the book it is based on. Both of them are fantastic. Highly recommend them both. They're very similar. It's a very faithful adaptation, but even though I knew it was going to happen because I read the book, I was just so engrossed in this movie. Amazing performances, amazing soundtrack. I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. It's hard to go wrong with him. Not that I love all of his movies, now that I say that, but anyway, rewatch for sure. This is the perfect adaptation. Absolutely love it. This movie is fantastic. Highly recommend. So well done. And then we have the 2021 Nightmare Alley. I think that came out in 2021, right? The Guillermo del Toro version. Rewatch. This one was so good. Like, when I think about that ending, I still like get chills because I mean the whole movie is fantastic. Bradley Cooper is incredible, and the casting, Toni Collette is amazing. Rooney Mara is wonderful, and then of course Cate Blanchett. How can you go wrong with her? But that ending, Willem Dafoe too, incredible cast. But yeah, the ending of this one, oh man, I have rewatched that multiple times because oh my gosh, it's just so well done. Bradley Cooper, how did he not get nominated? I think he got nominated that year for Licorice Pizza in a supporting role, but he was amazing in this movie, and this movie in general, just, oh my gosh, rewatch. It is perfect. It's a really faithful adaptation too. He kind of, he mixed in the book with the original movie. So I feel like Del Toro did kind of do a good job of mixing all, both of them together to create this third version. But incredible. Highly recommend this movie. So, so good. Great adaptation. I would rewatch it any day. And then we have the 2020 version of Rebecca, which I have a whole video talking about this one. Burn it. I did not like it. I mean, keep Lily James. Sure, she was fine, I guess. And then the woman who plays Mrs. Danvers, Kristen Scott Thomas, I want to say, like, she was good too. But still, nothing about this movie stood out enough that it's worth keeping. Just burn it, start over. I mean, and we have the original. This is, again, kind of like The Beguiled, where it's like this book already has been adapted, and the first adaptation is great. So if you're going to readapt it yet again, like, what's your reason for doing that, right? Like, what are you trying to bring to the table, and what change are you going to make it unique and to make it fit with our times more as well, right? Whereas this one did not do that, and I don't understand why they made it. And yeah, so either burn it and don't even bother adapting this one, because it's already been done before by Alfred Hitchcock, who did a great job. So either just don't adapt it at all or adapt it. But I mean, there were like so many key elements of the book that they changed. And by changing it, they just like changed the whole vibe and the whole relationship. And yeah, anyway, burn it. I did not like this adaptation. Okay, and we'll just do a couple more. And it looks like we have, Henrietta Lacks. So this book is fantastic. I read it twice. It is so well done. It is creative nonfiction. And so it feels like you're reading a novel, like the pace and the characterization and the storytelling feels like a novel, but it's all true. And it's just so chock full of information. And it's just so many great talking points as well. And she tackles so many difficult subjects. She tackles them so gracefully and eloquently. Highly recommend the book. And the movie is really well done too. It has Oprah Winfrey and Rose Byrne and the woman who plays Angelica in Hamilton. So as a Hamilton fan, it's always cool seeing them in movies. So yeah, the movie didn't have the impact on me that the book had. So I don't dislike it, but I think I would maybe go with readapt, because I feel like it could be improved upon. Because when I think back on this movie, I don't know. I think of the book and I'm like, wow, like that was amazing. But the movie, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, the movie, like, yeah, that was good. But I feel like it could have been better. So, and I don't even know, thinking back, I don't even know what I would change if I were to redo this, but it just didn't pack the emotional punch, maybe. I mean, having said that, I'm pretty sure I cried a couple times while watching this movie, so maybe I should just say rewatch instead, because it certainly isn't bad. Maybe my critique is that they should have spent more time with Henrietta and shown her more, because we spent more time with the daughter, which those parts are very important as well, but maybe for the movie I wish we would have had more time with Henrietta Lacks, because those were some of my favorite moments. So readapt and readapt it so that we have more moments, more scenes with Henrietta herself. So that's what I would change with that one. But highly recommend the book. So good. We haven't had any Stephen King. I do have a couple in here, but none of them have been chosen yet. Oh, funny enough, Dr. Sleep. So some people complain that this movie has too much fan service. Like there's so many moments that are calling back to The Shining specifically, but I loved it. I thought it was really well done. I didn't think it was over the top. I was eating it up and I just loved it all. I will say in some ways the ending of this movie I just love so much, and I can't get into it without talking about spoilers, but they do something with the ending of this movie that I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you. But then there's like one aspect of it where it's like, well, did that have to happen though? Like, why did that character have to meet that fate, you know? So overall, I would say rewatch. I absolutely loved it. I did have my minor critiques, but they were minor enough that at the end of the day, this is a rewatch. I think it's really well done. Mike Flanagan, he's adapted a lot of Stephen King, and for the most part, as far as the ones I've seen, he always does an amazing job. And we have Ian McGregor, who plays adult Danny Torrance, and then the actress who plays Abra was fantastic. And we have Rebecca Ferguson, who I talked about with the snowman. So amazing. So many cool scenes too, like when they're in each other's minds and stuff. So highly recommend this one. This is a rewatch. Okay, I think we'll do one more and then call it quits. This has been fun though. Last one. I Am Legend. Ugh. I am gonna have to say burn this one. I did not like the Will Smith I Am Legend movie. I mean, even Will Smith, he's a good actor, but he's definitely not a favorite of mine. So yeah, I know there's some people who do really like this version, and I talked to Preston about it in my book versus movie, and he even had, you know, some positive things to say. But burn it. I just really don't like this movie. It's boring and it's slow. This movie was hard to get through. It's not even that long, like an hour and 40 minutes or something, and yet it just felt so slow. Yeah, I just did not think it was a good adaptation. So, and the ending, yeah, burn this one. I didn't like it. So, it's also one that's been adapted before. So if they're readapting it yet again for the fourth time or third time, this was the third time this has been adapted, it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna add to it? And they did make changes, but they weren't changes that I liked. So burn I Am Legend. Not a fan. And the ending of the book was so good. And so the fact that they changed it with the movie, and then there's the alternate ending too, and so sometimes they get mixed up in my mind as to which one was even the theatrical ending. But then they're making a sequel based on the alternate ending anyway. But yeah, anyway, so cheesy, and yeah, not a fan. Anyway, but that wraps it up for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this. This was different. I've never done something like this before, but I really enjoyed it. And go check out Criminali's video where he does it with Stephen King books. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with my opinions on these adaptations, and I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.